It's daily game design time. I'm your host, Scott Cable Top Games. I was talking with my friend Seth. We had our meetup on Sunday, and beforehand, Seth was there. He was there early, and so we had some time before a few others came by, and we really got started. And it was really a cool chat with him because, anyway, really interesting guy, like super smart, interesting guy. And I'm actually going to test some audio stuff here. I don't know what a nice volume would be for everybody. That's not distracting, right? Yeah, that's not too bad. A little something going on in the background. Hey, why not? Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so talking to my friend Seth, and part of our conversation included how he's changed up some of his free time, his use of free time. And I think when somebody takes ownership over something, decides to do something, orients themselves in a certain direction and goes for it, and essentially overcomes or takes control or asserts intention, I think there's something really powerful to that. And this is, this even goes back to I think one of the reasons that even Jordan Peterson became interesting to a bunch of people, the idea of personal responsibility, something like just cleaning up after yourself. What is it? Make your bed or whatever. Just the more of your time and of your life that you decide things about and then follow through and like take care of, something important happens. And I think that feels like the case for me. It's definitely applied here when it comes to pushing myself to stream even when I don't feel like it. Of course, anytime somebody goes to work and does something even when they don't feel like it, cleaning up my apartment, doing my dishes even when I don't feel like it, it's that kind of thing where I think there is a real change. There is a real effect, psychological effect. And so it was cool to talk with him about some of those things. But one of the things he started doing is streaming. He streams in the afternoons here on Oahu. I suppose that'd be late evening for most of you. But he's also streaming game design. He's more of like a programmer kind of guy. So he's doing code for something like Infinite Scrabble. It was fun to talk to him, both in terms of hearing about a success in his life. This is a cool change. It's an exciting change for him. And also that we're working on something kind of similar, as in it's cool to just share stuff we're working on, with anybody who's curious. But the premise, the fundamental assumption is the same. This is what I discovered as we talked. It's the same. And that is that whether anybody is listening or not, it's better to assume, it's more productive to assume they are, that somebody's listening. And he told me about I forget what story. I don't know if it's a classic story. I don't know if it was just a friend of his had this experience. I forget where it came from. Something like the rubber duck story. And I am curious if it's known beyond Seth. So apparently somebody was there were two people in communication. One of them wasn't able to join for whatever reason, and they decided to get stuff done. So I guess one asked the other to record it, whatever it was they were working on. I don't know. I'm totally not remembering the details right. But at some point, one guy said to the other, okay, I'm not going to be there, and it might be weird just to talk to nobody, so why don't you just talk to this rubber duck instead? And that was somehow effective. Like, that was, it did the thing it was meant to do. So what the person learned is it doesn't matter who your audience is. It's always better, more in terms of like mental processing, to just like talk out loud, to explain, to express. And of course there are parallels there with parallels there with what I teach in writing. And I say writing is thinking, talking is thinking. So the more we can just talk through things, whether or not anybody's listening, it's just better. It's more productive. So it's been great that I have been able to interact. Mike's been super helpful, and then Francisco when he can make it. That's awesome too, because that's more of a human dialogue. But no matter what, just talking things out. That's where I started, as in that was my intention. Audience or no audience, whether there's some kind of social momentum or not, doesn't matter. It's because I'm here to work on games. I'm here as a game designer trying to make progress on games. The best way I know how to do that is to every day, of course except Saturday, every day set aside time to do the thing. And then in order to make what I think of as being the most efficient progress, it is to explain the thing I'm doing. Talk through the thing I'm doing, because this is fun. We're trading in ideas. And to have ideas, you need to be thinking through things. And talking through things is thinking through things. I could just sit and look at this monitor, but I think talking, describing, explaining is so much more effective than just if I had my own internal dialogue going. For some reason, this works better. I had a friend reach out yesterday. I'm going to share a few things before I get back to Sugar Shack, and some exciting things and some difficult things to process with Sugar Shack. I had the friend of mine reached out and said she is making a game for work and wondered if I had any suggestions about how to print it professionally, how to manufacture it. And of course I do. I've gone through the process myself. And anyway, a little exchange, I asked a couple follow-up questions. She sent me some details of what she's working on. And I thought, what could be useful here is for my friend to think like broadly through the whole process. I think that'll be good. It started with the idea of design goals. What do you want your game to do? What do you want people to take away from your game? What do you want people to experience during your game? And I've learned to think this way because of so many people in Board Game Design Lab, virtual playtesting. Now I've had some in-person time as well. where I just I feel like I have really gained a lot of value from people with more experience than me, and figuring out how to offer an experience is a really difficult thing. But now having some different categories to wonder about, like this is really valuable. It's really useful. So I thought, okay, at first I'm just going to ask some questions. Then I thought, why don't I make almost an inventory? Like, this is the stuff I would check on. This is the stuff I would think about. And I know a bunch of people have done this. I know for sure that Adam from Wales guy has done this. I believe that Chris Baki has done this. Come up with some kind of checklist for a game. The stuff that you're working on and thinking about. It's like walking you through. This is the stuff that will help you focus on where it is you're going, what it is you're doing. So I think that's cool. And I decided to come up with my own so that I could send it to her and she could fill it out, and then we could get together. Well, I made a survey here. You can see it. Game design consultation survey with Scott from Cabletop Games. So I wanted to just go through this briefly because there are definitely things on here that could change, should probably change. And I was gonna see if BGDL posted it. It might still be. It's pending. Okay, so I posted it to get feedback. I don't know. There's stuff about like what links you can post that's a little weird to me. It looks like, I mean, because I posted the YouTube video yesterday, and it finally got approved. I mean, I'm not complaining or anything. I'm not feeling the need to rush this, but it would have been cool to have some feedback for you from other designers. There was a little feedback from my friend Chris. Says, I think it's an excellent self-reflection tool for a small publisher or really even a designer who's thinking about their game as a product. First, he had some questions like, this feels very niche, this feels very specific to the person's situation. And I think that's actually true. Because you'll see as I go through these. So first is, if we're talking about the design, let me go to this would be the survey takers view. If we're talking, like in this case, she's making a game for work, she says. I don't have any context for what she's doing or who wants this game made, who's paying for this game to be made, what kind of influence do they have over to the design, because we could have all kinds of ideas. I could give all kinds of suggestions, and there might be some principal or CEO somewhere who says, nah, I don't really like that. I want to do what we were doing before. And then, okay, well, we just wasted a whole lot of time. So I thought here is the first big picture thing. It's who's in charge here? Who's making the design decisions? Who's picking the orientation? And that seems like, I don't know what's more fundamental than that. There could be something else that matters more. But who has the final say here? We can talk all we want, but who's the one? Or who are the people that we have to get approval from for design changes, stuff like that. Then, of course, there's the timeline. Is this due tomorrow? Is this due in 2 years? That would change the process, wouldn't it? How much money do we have for the design aspect of this? Because there are definitely free routes and there are paid routes. It also includes how pretty are you going to make the prototype? What kind of prototype are you going to make? Are you paying for playtesting? Are you paying a developer? These are all design considerations. And then there's manufacturing. Are you printing 5 of these? Are you printing 1,500 of these? And there's a nice list here, and a bunch of this stuff again came from my experience of just going through with one game. The final artwork and files, like I paid a professional illustrator, graphic designer to take care of this stuff. Samples, you got to pay for samples from the manufacturer. they're not nothing. They're not crazy expensive, but they're not nothing. I mean, actually, I got a sample of, I think it was 1 or 2 boxes of the Pathfinder game, and that it's very component light. So I imagine samples could be pretty expensive. Legal? Anything? Are you protecting anything? Do you have to get like for me with the Pathfinder game, I had to get permission from our church organization to use the word Pathfinder in the name of my game, and also I had to get the coexistence agreement with Paizo so that I could so they wouldn't shut me down, and so that means I can't sell on Amazon or in game stores and stuff like that. I can sell through church channels, but that's it. And that was a legal consideration. Product testing, I guess, you know, who's the product for? Is it going to be on Amazon? So all that stuff costs money, right? And then of course there's the manufacturing itself and shipping itself, or in addition there. And then okay, those seem like the biggest picture things. Who's making final decisions? How long is this meant to take? And how much money is there behind this whole thing? It might be that they can only afford to print and play. You know. You know. Okay, and then some. Tell me about your game. Game title, elevator pitch. What's it about? What is there a hook? What do you want? How do you set the stage for your game? How do you get my attention? Stuff like that. Game's primary mechanisms. What happened? What in general is happening during your game? The game's audience. Most of the time, that's an age range thing or minimum age thing. But for her, I don't know if she needs to be more specific. And then, of course, there are designers who are aiming toward meeting certain audiences' needs, like very specific audiences that go beyond age. Like in my case, the Pathfinder game is for a Christian audience. It's an audience of Seventh-day Adventists. So that would matter when it comes to making design decisions. How many people can play the game at the same time? Player count, 1 to 20, 1 to 5, whatever. Playtime range, so it's a 60 to 90 minute game, something like that. Now design goals. I think this is where things get rich and interesting. Well, what's the retail price meant to be? Because that really does affect the form the game is going to be able to take, right? If you want to sell a game for $30, that's there's going to be, that'll give you some space to have some components, a game board, stuff like that. But if you're trying to sell a game for $12, what is that? A little box of cards, maybe? If you're selling a game for $75, you got a ton of flexibility with what you put in that box. So that's cool. How long should the game take to teach? I put this here because, at least in my friend's case, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's some special case where there are maybe groups of kids, let's say. I actually don't remember where she works. So that's one of the problems. And it's also a reason I made this really generic, because I don't know what kind of work she's doing. I think it's education, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe biology teacher, actually. So how long should the game take to teach? This is certainly an audience consideration. For non-gamers, if the audience is non-gamers, pre-gamers I like to call them, or if young kids, of course, short attention spans, or if the setting is something like, let's say it's a summer camp, or you're designing a game for an event, and that event involves groups rotating around every 10 minutes or something like we would do at summer camp. The game should take 30 seconds to teach, 45 seconds to teach, right? Because you don't want to. Anyway, there are situational environmental factors here too when it comes to how long a game should take to teach. Do you have 15 minutes to teach? Maybe your class periods are 45-minute class periods, and you don't want to eat up, a fifth of the time with a teach. 9 minutes is a long teach anyway. If you think about most like pre-gamer people, 9 minutes, they're gone after like 3. So, describe the expected educational outcomes. This game looks like it clearly has educational intention behind it, and I wonder if you can hear the cat fighting just then. So you want the players to learn little, like she's working on a game about turtle hatching. So you want the players to learn something about turtles. Cool. Skills. Do you want them to practice analyzing probability? Do you want them to work on it's funny, I just blanked on this word a couple days ago and asked what it was. Deduction. So maybe you want them to think through, process of elimination, or there's different types of analysis you might want. Logistics, right? Different types of calculation. So you can build that stuff into your game if you want them to learn to think. I mean, this would be great for economics or math classes or something like that, or ethics classes. You could have them practice sorting out situations, logic puzzles, stuff like that. So what kind of learning do you want players to do? Describe the expected social outcomes. This came to mind when I was playing Saturday night. It seems, if it's a new group and it's a light pre-gamer group, the point is being social, then you want to learn names. So is part of the game learning people's names? I shared about fun facts yesterday, and that was a great little game, and it really facilitated learning names. So that's cool. Or do you want people to practice negotiation to get better at anticipating what people want and need? That's a social thing. Do you want people to practice working together? That's coordination. Do you want people to practice winning and losing? That's competition. So what kind of social healthy winning and losing, meaning we know the ranking of the result, but can we handle that emotionally when we're, as a result of the game, comparing ourselves to other people? This is a social process. Okay, and then there is, what emotions or experiences do you want players to feel when playing your game? So these are not, I don't know, these don't all make sense to me. Like, do you want to experience, I guess you could experience competition. That has emotional implications. And these are pretty good. I'm sure there could be more, but what emotions or experiences do you want players to feel? That's right. And then you can kind of click through some of those. Nice. It matters whether you want somebody to feel some kind of eustress, anticipation, some kind of, uncertainty. Yeah, I even thought this one was kind of interesting. Immersion. Do you want people to be caught up in a story? Do you want people to be chill, relaxed? Do you want there to be good tension and frustration? And that could be like, well, they actually might not be in a good way, but you could get attacked on your turn, that kind of stuff. Do you want that to be a possible experience? Not everybody does. Like, I don't especially enjoy games where I'm attacked. Sometimes it, maybe thematically it makes sense, and so it'd be worth putting in there. But anyway, almost done here. Describe any special components and considerations. So accessibility stuff. This is an audience question. Or do you want to have an app built to help, or do you want language independence for localization, or for working with like ESL students, or if it's Like if you have a game just for a group, like a conversation corner game, you might want that to be a little more language independent if you're not just practicing words. And then I threw this one on here, describing use or intended use of AI, just because more people are caring about that. Like Kickstarter definitely cares about that. Okay, almost done. How many times has your game been play tested by other game designers? This one I find is so important. More and more important. But not necessary. It's important, but not necessary. And then how many times has your game been play tested by your intended audience? This, necessary. Important and necessary. So, anyway, just a few more. Oh, actually, I guess it's the section on publication. Who is providing the funding for publication? So is it you? Is it the state? Is it crowdfunding? What services do you need to utilize before publication? An artist or illustrator. I guess I should put illustrator. Graphic designer, rulebook editor. What are the intended sales outlets? Amazon, website, markets. And the only reason I put this is I guess Amazon does require that you have your game tested, or there's some other, were other steps in place that were, you know, Amazon will vet you more than maybe another venue. How many copies do you wish to print? Less than 500? More than 1,500? That kind of thing. Any special considerations for manufacture? Do you care about where the game is made? Is the budget so tight we should find a way to do it and look for the fewest amount of the least amount of fees and tariffs? That today seems like more important. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the game? Anyway, a little survey, and basically an intake survey for somebody who's designing a game and they want my input. I was pretty happy with how this turned out, and I think we're going to be meeting maybe tomorrow, and I hope this is useful as it's a reflection tool is what it is. Yeah. Okay, now I think I'm ready to talk about my problem. My problem is actually coming at the end of good news. I play tested Sugar Shack with my friend Andrew last night. Andrew is a pretty strong min-maxer, I feel, or like he has a really good intuition for efficiency in games. He enjoys Euros, and I think he's very sharp in general. He works for a bank. I don't know if that affects, or at least he gets to practice maybe some of these things. Okay, so we played last night. Oh, I did want to share a photo. This was actually really cool. So what you see here is that our game night happened in a space that is unusual to it. This is the first time. You can see that our typical space, well, maybe you wouldn't recognize it, but it's back here, and there are some ladies preparing to have a women's ministry event. So that was going on, and so we were shifted to the where most of the offices are. The building is split in two with a breezeway lanai thing in between. So the ladies are over there doing their worship thing, and then we moved into the conference room. So there were a bunch of comments about how this felt like the war room, or you know, who was going to call this meeting to order, sort of stuff. Very cute, very fun. And anyway, it was interesting. I actually set up tables outside in the hallway, in the foyer. I had a few chairs out there just in case people wanted to spread out and use a little bit more of a gaming friendly table. What happened was we all got in there, and a few of us, four or five of us, were just chatting at the start of the evening. People kept filtering in, and then I said, hey, does anybody want to play Canvas? And then set up Canvas at the end of the table down here. And then a couple other people started a game, and by like midway through the evening, I'm gonna answer this. This could be a sub job for today. Do I want one? Do I feel like one? Kind of. Oh, oops. Need to do this twice. This is like my least favorite thing. I get these phone calls like a lot. So I actually want to get off the list for Pearl City. Even though I'm slightly closer than I was, it was like a 20-minute drive and I just didn't need that. Mauna Loa was busy enough. Yeah. Well, okay, so we started out, set up a couple games, got them going, and then a few more people came, and by midway through the evening, we had 3 or 4 games going on at a time on this table. And honestly, it was very sweet. It was just a really nice thing. Everybody just sharing this space, working around each other, oh, we're going to start a game over here. And people kind of slide down and switch out. And it was really, really cool. The table is like annoyingly big, but then at the same time, so are the double tables at Armchair. They're just like, I don't know, you just reach into the middle and figure it out. So it was actually very nice, and I would be tempted. I don't think we should ask for it, or that we could ask for it anyway. I don't think so, but it was cool. Everybody sharing the table, and it was like powerful somehow. I really thought it was very, very cool. Okay, and then here is the playtest of Sugar Shack. Yep. What? That's not right. Why is it frozen? It's just not loaded. Anyway, it looks kind of dumb on the table with these little pawns and stuff, but I was really excited with how the game went. I think it's flowing pretty nicely. The teach, now that I've got this other teaching approach, it's manageable. And so the last 3 playtests I've had are the most, well, this is full disclosure. Going through the Sugar Shack process, I think is the most, how to say it, like legit, thorough, intentional I've been to move a game forward. So it's been really, really cool to have spent, now this is, since November, I think. I've been working on Sugar Shack on and off since November of last year, so it's almost a year. And I'm seeing the real fruit of it. I'm seeing, going through just playtest after playtest, getting lots of feedback, caring about the feedback, ideating myself, now that we're streaming together, like just going through this process over and over where I'm really refining a game that has a strong theme. I think, it doesn't show up super thoroughly. It is a mini Euro. That's how I think of it, or refer to it. But actually, honestly and thoroughly going through the process, the iterative process on this game, where I think it's attractive as a concept. I think it's some innovative combination. Nothing, I don't think anything is unique necessarily, but of course, I think what matters here is the combination of mechanisms. So that's pretty exciting. But now that we found its identity, now the game knew what it wanted, and now I know what it wanted. Now we're making real progress here. Of course, getting feedback. It's been really fun. I mentioned Mike earlier. It's been really fun to dialogue with him about and get his feedback and ideas. So anyway, now the game is playing well for gamers, and that was my intention. I have, I want to say this is not intended to be a gateway game. This is supposed to be a kind of light, and later on in the game, it's not a medium Euro, because medium Euro I think of as an Arnak. It's not, Arnak is, I think, even like a light medium Euro. But so it's not a light game. There's definitely a bunch to analyze. So here, yeah, and the flow of it is really great. Even the balance is working very, very well. Games are coming down to the last couple of turns, and with competing win conditions. So it's just been really, really cool. So we tried last night. I tried once the community projects were available. I took a couple of them, and the way it worked out is then Andrew started, and this is, we're getting pretty deep into the game. It's 3 weeks, 3 major rounds. I think I took my first community project in the second week, and then I think my second one in the beginning of the third week. So Andrew's now on the defensive, but he's also making progress. Like he's fending me off. So it was in the third week that things got really like, yeah, Andrew really needs to watch here and start anticipating, defending, seeing what he can do to keep me from getting what I needed, getting the money I needed to do things, and keep me from. So anyway, it worked perfectly that I got knocked back, right, and I had to like raise more money to get the last community project. I took 2, he took 1, so now it's getting more expensive, but I got the grant office upgrade just in time and I chose, and this was really fun. I thought it was like a cool thing to actually see. So I chose, actually I just realized I missed a little detail somewhere. So I chose, for the first time playing this game, I chose the gain 5 workers next. What did I just see? Gain 5 workers for next round, and it was amazing. I had 7 workers to work with, and it was because it was so late in the game that timing, and I had to get money and I had to do this, and so the 5 workers kind of made sense. A 7 could be excessive. I admit this is what it was. I admit 7 could be excessive, okay? Maybe I don't need 7. But the timing, choosing that upgrade and everything, it was just really, really cool to make that decision and see it play out. And so what ended up happening was I was on the verge of getting my 3rd community project. So Andrew had to block. He fended me off for at least 2 rounds, I believe. So he took first player marker. I think I took first player after I got that group of workers. But what also happened, because it was really slow. the mayor's favor cards were really slow coming out because we didn't actually we didn't reveal all the buildings until, I think, until the second week. So I stacked the buildings. This time though, it was actually a really good call. It came from the playtest on Sunday. It was to reveal one of those buildings. So there are only 3 remaining to like unlock and place around town. Maybe I should bring this up visually. And I forgot the music is going. I hope that's a nice experience, a nice experiential development for those of you joining the stream. So, you know, the mayor's favorite cards were really slow coming out because even the buildings, we took a long time revealing the buildings. So it is possible to go through the whole game without revealing buildings, actually. You could just take your time and sort of do nothing, really. I mean, it depends on which building is revealed at the start of the game. I think there's a situation where you might force the order the buildings come out. I'm just gonna open this up, I guess. Here's the player aid I was working on. I just realized just now that I probably don't need to put all these icons up here in the way I did. But I basically broke each card, or I'm starting to break each card down into its icons. For Town Hall, you know, I have a reference for each icon, and I'm realizing I don't need a reference for each icon. I just need to describe what the building does, and then people will hopefully put that together when they see the card. Just as a whole, they see the card and read the description, and they say, oh, yeah, okay, so it lets you take the first player token. Oh, that's what that means. They see the card. Oh, that's what that means. And then privately look at the top card in the mayor's favor deck. Choose to place it back on the top or on the bottom of the deck. So that's what this really weird eyeball icon means. So I don't know. Maybe it does work. It's effective. Just to, yeah. I don't know if it. You know, what would be sad is if each building needed its own player aid card. That's just too much. Okay, but I do want to say here is the overall problem. So we got really far into the game. I had this pile of workers. This union's worth of workers. Oh, okay. What I mean is here I have these 4 cards. I would randomize these. So this is the starting situation. But then now one of these comes out. And so it hurries along this process of bringing out the three other cards. So these would come out one at a time after you earn them or somebody goes up and activates them. Okay, after this happens, then the mayor's favor cards start coming out, right? So it was definitely the second week, and this would cover the grant office. It would get taken. The next one would come out, cover Farland Market, get taken by somebody. This one would come out, right? So these were starting to really flow in the third week. And when I had all those guys, like those workers, the staff, what I started being able to do, because even though Andrew had 3 workers, he had to defend up at community projects. So here I can just set up a little bit of the situation. So I had these 2. Yeah, I had these 2. And then Andrew got 1. So I didn't have enough money to get the next one. And so instead what I started doing was gathering Mayor's Favor cards. So I got 1 in one round. And then another one came out. And because I had a lot of workers, I could start like this one, right? This one I actually used. This was the next one that I earned. And then the next one I also earned. I forget what it was. Actually, I think it could have been Market Monkey. So it took 2 cubes and 4 workers. Well, I had 7 workers. So it actually worked out fine. So what started happening was I had 3 of these cards, right? Because I just had tons of workers, and those cards with few cubes, it wasn't this one. Where did it go? Corporate Incentive came out. Definitely. Oh, Rolling Barrel might have been the last one, actually. So anyway, I was able to get 2 Mayor's Favor cards pretty much right in a row. So what that meant was I had 3 of them. I had 2 community projects, 3 Mayor's Favor cards, and we were in the very last round of the game. So it was pretty nuts, and it was very cool. The problem was that now, and this is the fundamental problem. I have about 15 minutes left in the typical stream here, but this was the fundamental problem. All the information was on the table. So there was pretty much this period of time when both of us went into calculation mode, and we looked at what the other person had, we looked at what they could do, and at that point I realized the game in the latest stage, especially when there's some kind of tension and there's a little uncertainty about how things are going to go, you definitely have the capabilities of a brute force calculation. So you can just reason through the end of the game. And what that means is, of course, first of all, that's obvious defeat. So you might as well just concede the game. And that's not great. Like, it'd be nice if there was a little, just a little bit of a sense of like, oh, I'm close, but I don't know for sure how this is going to go. The other thing is, like, that's a better experience probably, right? Than just kind of knowing defeat and resigning the game. Or seeing inevitable defeat and then you resign. That's chess, of course. That happens a lot in chess. The other issue with that, I guess I don't mind that. I don't mind if somebody can see the writing on the wall, so to speak. That's okay. The problem that I think is more fundamental is the time somebody is tempted to take to do the calculation. So this is full-on analysis paralysis time. Because you look at their stuff, okay, they've got 3 workers, I have 4 workers, they're going to go here, and okay, then I'm going to go there, then, okay, I can still get this thing, and because I got this thing, oh, then I have, well, it gave me 1 extra cube, now I've got 2 cubes to work with, right? So you're calculating, it's actual, like, real chess-like calculation, which I like. I think that's cool, and you should be able to do some of that on your turn. The problem is you should not be able to solve the end of the game. So that's the problem. And I think it's a big problem. So I don't know that, right now that I have any real thoughts about what I can do. Yeah, what I can do to change that. One of the early suggestions, this came out from Sunday, it actually had to do with endgame scoring, but I think it applies generally. Oh no, endgame, like, win conditions is really what it was. The endgame triggers and win conditions. It could be that there's a little deck of those, and maybe somebody is going for Mayor's Favor cards, somebody else is going for community projects, and you just kind of have to deal with figuring out who's doing what, maybe. It's it already is clearly not a perfect solution. Because are we just talking about, you know, I guess right now, if somebody gets 4 Mayor's Favor cards, they win the game. So to give that win con to somebody and make it exclusively theirs feels a little weird. Especially if one of them is kind of seen as, like, if my win con is not Mayor's Favor cards, then what does that do to my gameplay? Mayor's Favor cards are still good, so that's not the problem. But if they're good and I can win from them, yeah, I guess that could be telegraphed pretty easily, I guess, to the other player, and so they would really work to get them. But I don't know why not just like allow both players to go for that. So there must be some ways to introduce some uncertainty here. I don't know exactly what they are. It could be that your money is hidden. That could be one way that you can't like fully calculate what people really need. So that's actually interesting because well, I don't know. I think it could also be weird that just anything hidden now relies on the clear understanding and integrity of the players. I want to assume that should be good, but at the same time, I don't know. That feels weird to like put. Yeah. Well, yeah, I see that, Mike. Uncertainty betrays the rest of the game. Yeah, because it really is. Most of the game is open information, and so you can plan around what you know other people can do. Actually, that was nice feedback from Andrew last night. It's that he actually appreciated that the numbers were small. You can have, you know, at the start of the round, you'll have only 2 or 3 workers. You see how much money they have. You see how many cubes they have to work with. So you can kind of, like, if you know they don't have the money to get another community project, then you can adjust to that. And that's a good thing. In his mind, that's, like, helpful. Definitely when when employing tactics, right? So, or when the way that you would order the activation of different buildings. Well, I know Scott can't go there because he doesn't have this thing. But if he goes there to get the thing, then he can go to this other place. Well, let me go there to keep him from getting that thing that would let him get that other stuff. So I really like that. I like that is salient, that the information is available. The problem is when pretty much all of the information is available at the end. So I think, I wonder, Mike, if that idea, uncertainty betrays the rest of the game. I think on some level I get what you mean and agree with you, but are we thinking there's a difference between uncertainty broadly and randomness? Does that need to be distinguished here? Do those two need to be distinguished? Uncertainty and randomness. Because I think definitely randomness, it completely betrays the rest of the game. There's a little randomness at the start. There's of course randomness as buildings come out and as Mayor's Favor cards come out, but that randomness affects everybody equally. And yeah, it totally is. You're right. The core of the game is planning around your opponent's capabilities. That's true, and it was definitely the case. It was a part of Andrew's positive experience last night that he could, like work with the information that was available in my space, he could see what I had to work with. It was really it was cool to hear that comment, and because actually, that's an adjustment I made based on feedback from, I want to say it was Ivan, when I actually paid for some playtesting a few iterations back with Players Lair and Ivan. And what was the other guy's name? ESO or something like that. And at that time, money was in increments of 5, I think. And he said, why don't you just need to divide everything by 5. Why is it like this? So I did. So everything, it came down to 1s and 2s and 3s. There are certainly more expensive things, but these upgrades would have been 50 or whatever instead of 10. So that was a great suggestion, and making sure to keep the number of workers very small was really good, and I'm really glad that the game, it should be, especially once you're familiar with it, it should be really easy to assess the present situation. It's just now that there are all these options available toward the end of the game, you don't know for certain where your opponent is going to go. There is probably an optimal, and that's what the problem is it becomes clear that somebody, it became clear last night, and then even in previous playtests, that somebody is going to get stuck. They're going to get frozen thinking through optimal play. So that's less cool. Donkey space. I've never heard this phrase, Mike. Donkey space. But the context clues help me understand what you mean. Right, so I don't think the game needs more randomness. That is not the solution. It's possible it could help to have a touch of hidden information. That's the only thing, just a hint of hidden information. Not much, but just a little bit so that you can't... Okay, not saying it's a good idea. But if it were me, I'd try having the game always end after week 3 unless the player gets 4 Mayor's Favor and 3 community projects. Then give a payout at the end. Oh, interesting. Huh. Oh, interesting. So that is in classic Euro tradition, there would be an accounting at the end. Yeah, I like that. I like even that you've got this idea of still allowing, if somebody's just completely dominant, if they're just getting everything, well then why wait around? I like that. I like that a lot. So maximizing your score is still about caring about money. It's still caring about whether you are, whether I'm allowing you to take that Mayor's Favor card or not. So I like that. Yeah, it's not how could... Interesting. Well, the way the game went last night, Mike, I'm not sure how long you've been in here. The way the game went last night is that I had 2 community projects. So Andrew went into defense mode, and while he was busy defending, then I started gathering Mayor's Favor cards. That's after I got the Grant Office upgrade. So it was interesting that I was honing in. I was approaching accomplishing both of those things, but it was just as the syrup, the sap was running out from the sugar bush. So if he had just kind of, yeah, completely like lost his head, didn't have the vision to see what I was doing, then he would deserve to have the game end like prematurely. I like that, Mike. That makes a lot of sense to me. So the timer would be consistent on the game. Well, I mean, still you do have control over how fast those cubes are drained from the sugar bush. But this is what you're describing is much more in the spirit of the game than these like sudden death type win con. Yeah, win cons. So instead of them being win cons, they would be like maybe multipliers of some kind, or yeah. Let's see, then the last turns are how can I maximize, right? I do also think you have a last turn allowance. Tons of games don't need the last turn played out. I think the goal here would suit let's play it out just because I want to see how much I make. And that is the attitude we had last night. Because it looked like I was going to be able to earn one of those, to accomplish one of those win cons. It looked like it felt like it, but then we had this attitude of, oh, let's take a couple of turns in this last round just to see how it works. But if it was at the end of week 3, let me just see how much money, you know what, because what you're describing is really helpful, because even as I looked around, we started realizing, and we're looking at the board state. By the way, there's been really cool feedback about the cards, like being modular rather than having a board that's like static. So we looked around the board and realized Andrew was actually going to be making a lot of money at the end of the game. And it's because he had these 3 things. He had a barrel and then 2 bottles in the warehouse. And I was like focused, I was spending some money on stuff. I'd gotten the 2 community projects. And I forget what else, what other kind of payouts. I had done none of this display thing. And it was actually interesting that Andrew had upgraded everything by the end of the game. I had only done 1 upgrade, I'm pretty sure. Some of that was timing. The hardware store got covered up with a Mayor's Favor card, but that was kind of interesting that I still, at least based on those that version of ending the game, yeah. Oh, you know what? There was actually a question about when the game ends, and based on the sugar bush. So I wanted to think that through at some point too. But we actually figured out as we looked around that he was going to be making a lot of money, and that it was possible that he could drain the sugar bush. So that was actually a really cool thing. It was realizing that he had some strategy of draining the sugar bush so that the game would end at the end of that round and we'd compare money. So he almost figured it out. It was like really, really close that he could have done it. He figured out that it didn't quite work, but that would have been awesome and perfect, because it was very much the last. Oh, we finished the game with an empty sugar bush. There was 1 cube left to start the final round. That's how crazy it was. Like, it was literally awesome. So anyway, I really like what you're saying, Mike, because I think you're right. I don't need to add anything. I don't need to, there's no need to have some wild component adjustment or anything like that. But I like this. I think this is a really nice solution to the problem, because I don't know. Now it's just assigning some value to these other things. that's another balancing issue, but I don't mind that. I think it helps solve that. Yeah, I would say the game killer here, which is complete AP at the end. And, well, I think you'll still get that. I think, absolutely. And that's like SETI, too. I think it's all these games where there's a lot out on that. You have a lot of abilities. You have a lot of cards now that you can spend, or you have a bunch of resources. Same with Arnak. You know, you want... Oh, definitely the case with Arnak, where you've got now a bunch of rubies, and you've got, you know, stuff. What is the best part? I can buy an item. I can buy for points. I can buy an artifact with whatever. And so it totally happens in Arnak. It would happen here, where you still want to calculate a lot. I don't know. It doesn't solve the problem, as in the game is still solvable, but I think it feels a little further away. The solution is further down the path. It could be, you know what, to help obscure it a little bit, the mayor's favor cards could have varying point values, so that'd be one way to do it. You're probably not super likely to memorize which cards your opponent has taken. You would have a chance to do it, but that would feel like a little bit of mental overload, perhaps. Yeah, so you could still calculate at the end of the game, but because the game doesn't end in sudden death, the stakes might feel a little lower. Like, let's just see how it goes. Let's play it out, just like you said. So I think that's worth testing. I think it was a nice observation that you could just, if somebody's getting fully dominated, like the community projects and the mayor's favorite thing, just end it early. That makes sense to me. Yeah. Huh. I like it. Overall, this I think is the most excited I've been about a game. Actually, let me check something real quick. This came to mind the other day. And the reason it's an issue is I know somebody else is working on a Sugar Shack game. Clearly nobody's reserved the name yet, so I kind of want to do it, but I heard from somebody in Discord. Who was it? It was, these folks, Peach Goose Games. Julia was at, I forget. What was it? It was one of the Proto Spiels or something like that. And she saw there was a game called Sugar Shack on a prototypes list, a playtesting list or whatever. However, you reserve a table. I don't know how it works. And she messaged me and asked, "Hey, are you going to be over here at this thing?" I said, "Definitely not." But what? What do you mean? Like, so she said there's this game Sugar Shack, and it was similar in theme, definitely about maple syrup, but I think a larger scale. It wasn't, you didn't have your little, I don't know. I don't know really anything about the game. Except that it has the same name. So I'm tempted to reserve the name on BGG. Maybe I should just go for it. Because I definitely could. As a work in progress game. Because I feel like with some of these little details, important details, but I think just small commitments, a few more commitments, and my feeling is this game it's on the verge of being pitchable. I think it probably is pitchable. Like, it's working People are connecting with it. They're saying, "Oh, I would play that again," or "Oh, that was interesting." So I feel like it's in a pitchable state at this point. Maybe visually, and then making sure like there's not some weird edge case stuff to sort out in the rulebook. Oh, this was an example of that from last night. Andrew noticed that making barrels is the kind of thing, because right now you can make a barrel between rounds. You cannot make a barrel during the round. And hey, Francisco. Yeah, I did almost try to take that territory, the Junkyard Juggernauts territory. Did you put an entry? I want to have a look. It sounds like you must have. Wow, there's a bunch of junkyard stuff. Yeah. Wait, who picks that? Who picks the weight? You don't pick that. Yeah, that's great. And it looks really good. Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, Francisco, do you think 4 is appropriate? That feels a little high to me. I don't know, there is a lot going on, but you sort of just have to remember like how it works. And I think the rulebook is pretty long, right? So it could be appropriate. It just feels like, wow, like not even root. Like what is root? I looked this up recently, actually. Root's not even 4. Yeah. But you have a bunch of illustrations in that. 40 pages, Francisco. You are flirting with excess. That's crazy. 40 pages. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't remember why it needs to be that long, honestly. I guess you probably have a bunch of weird interactions. And then there's like, yeah, I guess explaining all the upgrades and everything because the asymmetry. I think asymmetry just blows up rulebooks. I mean, it must, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty wild. But I wonder how does this work? I think it's definitely a community thing, but that just means you've had some people look. Mike, look at this. Playtime 45 minutes to 240 minutes. What is going on here? Yeah. No, I love it. I'm basically done. I really I think Mike is really onto something there with just shuffling or like redefining the end game triggers or just how the end of the game works. I think I'm gonna write this down really quick. So you're saying it's like solo mode could be 45 minutes. Is that what you mean? Where was I? Okay. Oh, hang on one second. I think I did not. Yeah. Playtest with Andrew. There was something else. Thought the... Oh, I remember. End of the game with Sugar Bush. Does the end happen? Let's see what that was. Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, 45 minutes per player. So, a 45-minute solo game actually sounds pretty nice. Yeah. By the way, how's the music? It might have stopped. Did it stop? Yeah, it did, didn't it? No, it's still playing. Can you guys hear the music? Does it elevate the experience? Oh no. What happened? It looks like it's still playing. Something definitely is wrong though. Because I think it's supposed to be at least 2 hours long. Yeah, okay. That's a shame. I don't know what happened. I have VLC playing some lo-fi stuff. I thought I did. That's silly. It should be back. Wait, what? I don't know why it says 16 minutes. It's playing now, right? It shouldn't be... Oh, okay. I just started it over. I put some headphones on and listened to it. Okay. So this is the other thing that we were talking, that Andrew and I were thinking through. I'm gonna add the comments from Andrew's playtest, and then I'm gonna add the thinking from does the game end the round? Does the game end immediately when the sugar bush runs out, or if runs out, or what was it? Or if the players can partially fill their this is what it was. If the players can partially fill their evaporators, do you play another round? That was the main question. Or if your evaporators empty the sugar bush during the start of round upkeep, if you empty the sugar bush, then does the game immediately end? We played it out, and I think I prefer that. I think I prefer, like, if there's 1 cube left in the evaporator, I'm sorry, 1 cube left in the sugar bush, then I take 1 cube, and then I think it was last night, Andrew took two cubes from the supply because he had upgraded his sugar shack. Then in that case, we play another round, and I think I prefer that. But then the game, it's just getting longer, and maybe the result is inevitable, so I'm not sure. Well, the result is potentially inevitable if everybody's playing optimally. Okay, when the sugar bush runs out, end game. Does the game end immediately when the sugar bush runs out, or if the players can You know, it's so like, in a way, I'm a little sad that the evaporator, the process of making syrup has changed so much, but it is so much nicer, way more elegant. Yeah. Yeah, I think if the other win cons, you're right, Mike. If somebody can drain the sugar bush intentionally to trigger the end of the game, um, the game would be sensitive to that for sure. And if the other win cons equal sudden death, then that becomes way more important, right? The ability to do that becomes way more important. But if that, you know, if it makes sense to make that adjustment where the kind of sudden death win cons, if those are combined, harder to get both, and only coming when there's one player really dominating the game. Then I think that timing is possibly less important, especially if there's a reckoning and like supporting community projects or getting mayor's favorite cards actually translate into, if those things translate into points. I kind of don't like if the focus really becomes all about victory points. So there might be a way to like, I wonder if there's a way to like win 2 of 3, for example. If there's a way to win 2 of 3, but then maybe money's the tiebreak, something like that. So, with that, what I just said, I don't think made any sense. But if I'm higher, yeah, if I'm higher in money and higher in have them all be worth 1 victory point. Yeah, yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so if you win 2 of 3, I like that. I really like that. I feel like that is a pretty simple take. So rather than converting everything to points, it's still, yeah, it's still captured in the idea of, well, you can still translate it into victory points, but it's like there are only 3 possible victory points. Oh, so if you won 2 of them early, that is the best way to think about your suggestion, I guess, too. It's if you were to win 2 of them early, then the game's over anyway. So if there are 3 victory points possible, I like that. Hang on one second. I need to finish this so that I can write this down. Sugar bush runs out, or if the players can partially fill their evaporators, then there's another round. Does number 1, the game end immediately, or number 2? Thought small numbers were good. Small numbers and quantities were good. The likelihood of I might add a few more details, but okay, now Okay, now let's say the 923 stream. So if there were, so 3 possible win cons equals 3 possible victory points. The player who earns 2 of 3 is the winner. Yeah, I feel like that is a clean way of solving a bunch of that issue. So that's cool. Thanks for that idea, Mike. Really, it's been very cool to see the convergence of at least 2 win cons toward the end. I mean, even when they were sudden death with the Mayor's Favor and community projects, the timing, it's been so crazy. Like, I realize a lot of this is just by sort of gut and, oh, that seems like a problem, let me make this little adjustment. Like, one of the big ones had to do with the number of cubes that are in the sugar bush. Like, that's a sensitive number because that's obviously the timer of the game. So at one point there were 12 on each side, and then I cut it down to 10, and that seems like just turning that dial a little bit seems to have really lined the timing up. And also the suggestion on Sunday of, well, having, so the playtest with Eli was really helpful because that was the first time I tested bringing the buildings out. And we noticed that, well, there was almost no reason to go for the community projects for some reason. I can't remember the details now, but it was like really insightful. I don't know, whatever that was, his intuition to reveal at least, oh no, this, okay, so I tested with Eli, what was that, Friday evening, and that was my first time trying the buildings coming out, like the drip feed of the buildings. And then we tried a couple different Mayor's Favorite card things, but then on Sunday when Eli and Aaron played, that's when they had the suggestion, because the Mayor's Favor cards were too slow and the community projects came out too late. That's when we placed one of the 4 buildings, randomly placed one of the 4 buildings, and that turned out to be perfect. Like, it'll change if players start bringing, like when we played last night, me and Andrew, we didn't bring the buildings out with the sort of speed that I expect somebody else might. Like, somebody could go and bring one of those buildings in every round, but we didn't do that. So I don't know what it would be like if somebody did, but the point was, all 3 of those things, like all 3 win cons, were just like meeting right at the perfect time. It was awesome. It was very cool. So I just really fun to see stuff like this coming together. And anyway, I think I'm coming to the end of my stream here, but as always, Mike, just appreciate your input. I mean, there's just a lot of insight there, and it's been fun now to see it happen, like at the table, to see these things coming together in a way that's creating an experience that people are open to having again, that they're excited about. And yeah, it's just awesome. So Mike, I don't remember your Discord name. It's not just Mike or Michael. I have no idea what it is. I would tag you, but I don't know. I forget what your name is. I probably have it in my DMs, huh? Oh yeah, that's right. That is right. This has the potential to solve the AP problem and at the same time avoid Euro bean counting. I'm going to put it that way. The Euro bean counting of trends. Avoid the Euro bean counting of converting everything into VP. Yeah, that feels. This is cool because I've seen some discussion about almost like complaint that this is what Euros do, is it all comes down to just like the conversion process at the end of the game and then moving along a track. So that's still the case here. There's a little bit of that because money matters, but it's just cool ending games in ways that are not that. So I really like that we have these pressures coming from different directions with the mayor's favor, with the community projects, and also money is there as a more granular tiebreaker. And I think that's cool. Like that it'll be a lot harder to actually tie in this game because money is this little incremental thing, whereas there are only 6 there are only 6 mayor's favor cards, so it probably would be pretty easy to tie there. There are only 5 community projects spaces on that one community project card, and I think even on like 2 or 3 of the other ones. But that the community projects in mayor's favor goals would be easier to tie on, but money less easy to tie on. So I think that's actually really neat, that dynamic. But possible though. We'll have to come up with another tie break. Maybe it's whatever progress you made on the remaining thing. So if you tie for 2, if you're 1-1, and then you tie on the 3rd one, so it would have to be that you tie on money as well. Then there's still no tiebreaker. Would have to figure that out. Anyway, this is exciting. Feels like it was fairly productive, and that was a rock star move there at the end, Mike. But I think that's it for me for today. Hope you have a productive, enjoyable day yourself and yourselves, and I'll see you back here tomorrow. Tomorrow early morning for me, and I don't know, seems like a comfortable. I don't know, Mike, how do you do this? I don't remember what sort of work you do, but it's cool you're able to join pretty regularly. Yeah. Okay, that's it for me. I will see you soon. Oh, Mike, I forget what you do for work. I don't remember why you're able to join like midday for stuff. All right. Just pausing here momentarily. Okay, well, next time. Anyway, again, thanks for joining. I'll see ya.